Hola España, ciao Italia. Spain and Italy had their second rehearsals today of Eurovision 2019 inside Expo Tel Aviv. Shall we talk about them?
Let's do this!
You can find out whether you have any kind of Mediterranean heritage with my heritage. So, Spain were up first, and this was a vast improvement on what we saw before from Miki. There is much more colour, there's much more life, the joy is back in this performance. I still feel like the puppet is unnecessary. I get that it's meant to represent society's pressures on you, or something to those lines, but it just feels like there's a puppet on stage that's shaking the house. I will say that those camera shots are better now. You can actually see sort of the house is sort of moving through the camera angles, so that's really good, but I still feel like it's a bit unnecessary and it kind of takes away from the energy that the song has built up in that period. But towards the end it really comes back together, the joy is there. Miki seemed a lot more relaxed today. It was just joyful and happy, and it's starting to move back towards where Spain kind of could have been before that first rehearsal. I still think that the national final performance is better, but there is at least a bigger picture here and the colour really works, it really pops on screen.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like the Spanish delegation of actions a lot of the criticism they got in the first rehearsal. The house party shots, for example, are tighter. We now see each individual room, you get Miki interacting with his friends, it's not just a single wide shot of the house and him running around like a madman. I also think he now looks like a man that's enjoying himself versus a man finding his camera marks. He's not just like stressed and focused on hitting them, he's smiling, he's warm, he's friendly. I entirely agree with Chris. I think the puppet is superfluous. It's on screen for about 15 seconds with no context or explanation. It just was around a beat. And I actually, for the GoPro as well, feel that is also superfluous. The single best parts of these songs are when Miki and his dancers run down the catwalk for the party and are on the central stage. That creates the festival environment. You feel the fiesta. You feel the energy, warmth and youth that this had at the national final and that it needs to do well on stage. So there's still probably one or two elements that I don't think work, but I do now like the house party element. I get that vibe, and I do think Spain has taken steps in the right direction. I just think they could still do with perhaps losing the GoPro and the puppet, and it would elevate still further in my mind.
Yeah, there are a lot of things in this performance which I think are really unnecessary. I'm not a fan of the puppet, I'm not a fan of the house. I think what Spain needed to do was very simple, and they've overcomplicated everything. Having said that, this is the concept that they've gone with, and bearing that in mind, it was definitely a significant improvement on the first rehearsal. Miki had a lot of energy today. It was very infectious, and I think he got across the melody, got across the vibe of the song in a really catchy manner, and I think it was something that you can't help but get off your feet and dance along to. I think he's also going to be really helped by the fact that he's drawn second half of the grand final. I think this is absolutely in contention to close the grand final. It would be a great way to close the show, and I did definitely notice significant improvement on the first rehearsal today.
To your point, they are executing this idea very well. It's just whether or not you like the idea that they came up with, I think, that is the big thing. And yeah, I think I was worried that if he drew first half, he was definitely opening the show. Now it feels like the perfect sort of party song to close out. We will see, obviously, we will find out after the second semi-final what the running order is in full. But yeah, it's a positive step for Spain, and I think that will help them a little bit too. Now, another person that I personally think had a big improvement was Italy's Mahmood. Soldi, I think, really just felt very weak and sort of just there was something wrong with it on Friday night when we saw it for the first time. Today, it feels like there was a big step forward. He seemed back to being himself. He's no longer ill, he says. You can tell that he sort of feels more confident on stage. The dancers no longer are sort of almost stealing the spotlight away from him. They feel more part of the song. There's a really nice shot where the three of them are sort of bowed over, almost in deference to Mahmood, whilst he's off to the side of the stage. But in the backdrop, he's sort of in front of the young Mahmood, and they're in front of an older figure. And I think that really tells the story nicely. Like, there's a good contrast there. It's a very effective camera shot, and the LED really is working for them now. This was just so much better, and I can see where whilst I haven't always been a fan of the song, there is definitely something to that brooding personality that really gets it going. This was just better, and Italy are right back in contention, being towards the top end of the table. Don't know whether it's still a winning performance yet. I think that there are still some things that they need to work out, and other countries may have just got a bit further ahead of them at this point, but it is on the right track.
Lighter, tighter, brighter. This was a vast improvement on the Friday night rehearsal that we saw. I also think Mahmood has finally kicked the can of the illness, because he didn't look kind of as washed out or as pallid as he did on Friday night. He also connected. He has his groove back. As Chris talks about, like, his brooding vibe, he had that back. He was captivating again. The camera work is so much sharper, and also the effects now. This sonic boom that I talk about that kicks off the performance, you feel its impact. There's an instant atmosphere created. They've changed the colouring as well. It's not just shades of blue now, there's a lot more red. I think the shots where Mahmood's kind of skull is cracked open down the centre are really effective, the burning money. And also they've done really well to translate the message of the song, which the Italians do not always do. Like, they haven't always taken the care to. Last year I think was kind of over-translation of the message. This is still subtler, but they've gone for it, they've embraced it. And also Etienne, our French correspondent, was talking about how this feels very Milan. It balances high fashion with urban culture, cool kid, and it feels very aesthetically true to Mahmood. All of this is to say that Italy is firmly back in the running to win the Eurovision Song Contest 2019, and fully would expect them to be in the top 5 come the end of voting on Saturday night.
Yeah, based on the first rehearsals, for me, Italy was the biggest disappointment of all 41 entries, closely followed by Spain. But with the second rehearsals, if Spain elevated, Italy elevated so much more. This was absolutely incredible today, I felt. And the big thing that I felt from the performance was the camera angles. It just worked really well, especially over the parts of the song when he goes come va, come va, come va. The sharp camera cuts work so smoothly, and I particularly loved the last run through of his rehearsal today when he was wearing a different outfit. It was black and red and white. I suspect that will be his stage outfit, and that really set the contrast between himself and the dancers, and he really popped on stage. It looked amazing. The burning money and all of the effects happening in the background, they look better with the new camera angles as well. They're not so in your face. They're just there in the background, helping him tell the tale of the story rather than stealing attention away from him. I think he's also going to be helped by the fact that he's in the second half.
Yeah.
Just like Spain, this will definitely receive some sort of a pimp spot in the running order. And yeah, I completely agree with you guys. Italy is back in the running.
Yeah, you're talking about Milan, the fashion. He sort of started off in, like, I think you described it as an Assassin's Creed
silk tunic realness.
Yeah, and then he had this red shirt. I preferred the red shirt. You think it's Hawaiian?
Did not. Yeah, it's more Honolulu than Milan.
Which is fine. You're allowed to disagree. We're allowed to have opinions on fashion. That's the whole point of it. So, I clearly didn't get the message on the W shirts today, but that's fine. That's fine. But yeah, no, this was so much better. And also, yes, the second half will be really good. We get the suspicion sometimes they look at the bookmakers' odds, and they sort of put the songs that are maybe more of the favourites in better positions. That seems to be the way it's worked for the past few years anyway. So obviously he is still up there, and that's probably going to do him very well. In any case, that's what we think. What do you think? Do you think that Italy's Mahmood and Spain's Miki have made big improvements on their rehearsals? Do you think they're in contention for the top 10, top 5, something even better? Let us know here on wiwibloggs.
Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that like button. In the comments, let us know what you think about Italy and Spain's chances for this year. We'd love to hear from you, and hit that notification bell.
And make sure to follow us on all social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, to stay up to date on all the latest news as we move closer to Eurovision.
Money can't buy your DNA, so remove the blindfold and find out about your family's history with MyHeritage. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.